In this presentation, we will look at the Rondeau form of poetry. What is a rondeau? Rondeau is a term used to describe a short poem that usually contains 15 lines with two consistent rhymes throughout the poem. The first line is also repeated twice throughout the poem as a refrain. A refrain is a phrase or a line that is repeated throughout the poem, usually at the end or in between stanzas. Rondeau is actually derived from the French word for circle because of its repetition of a phrase. Now let's look at the rondeau's appearance in history. Rondeau poetry originated in the 13th century in France. It was popular among medieval courts and musicians. Rondeau is derived from the French word for round, as I had stated earlier. It was originally centered around emotional subjects, such as love, marriage, religion, and the changing of seasons. Some rondeaus described pain and loss, but they usually ended in a cheerful note. From about the 13th century to the 15th century, rondeaus were often set to music. After the 16th century, the population in rondeaus declined, but they saw a revival in the Romantic era. Usage today. Traditionally, French poets did not have the refrain rhyme in rondeaus. However, when English poets began writing rondeaus in the 19th century, many believed the refrain was more effective than when it rhymed. Although some poets continued to write rondeaus today, the popularity has declined since the revival in the Romantic period. The typical modern rondeau contains 3 stanzas divided into a quintet, quatrain, and a sestet. In addition, the refrain rhymes as stated previously. Here are some examples of modern rondeau poems. Now let's look at the rondeau's meter and other basic elements. Rondeaus are usually written in iambic, tetrameter, and pentameter. An iamb is an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. Iambic tetrameter is a poem that features 4 iambs in each line of the poem. Iambic pentameter means the poem has 5 iambs in each line of the poem. Here is an example of different rhyme schemes that can be used while writing a rondeau. The R represents the refrain, which is repeated at the end of the second and third stanzas. The rondeaus contain 3 different types of stanzas. The quintet, which means 5 lines, the quatrain, which means 4 lines, and the sestet, which means 6 lines. Here is an example of a rondeau poem. Take a minute to read it over and understand its meaning. Next, we're going to look at the perfect example of a rondeau. The stanzas of In Flanders Field follow a typical pattern for rondeaus. The first stanza is a quintet, the second stanza is a quatrain, and the third stanza is a sestet. The refrain is repeated at the end of the second and third stanzas. In addition, lines 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, and 14 correspond. On the other hand, lines 3, 4, 8, 12, and 13 correspond. This poem follows the rhyme scheme AABBA, AABR, AABBAR. The poem also follows the iambic tetrameter meter. This is because each line contains 4 iambs. Here we highlighted the corresponding rhyming words and the refrain to make the rhyme scheme more clear. Words highlighted in red represent the A, words highlighted in blue represent the B, and the phrase highlighted in yellow is the refrain. In addition, we numbered the lines in each stanza to show the quintet, quatrain, and the sestet.